Hello, everyone, and welcome to an exciting webinar for me. I'm excited to announce that I'm launching an online management group, something I've been wanting to do for quite some time. I have run management groups for quite a few years, started them back in 1990. I took over a group here in Canada from Bob O'Connor. Bob O'Connor was a trainer who was the first in the industry, a pioneer of bringing amazing training to independent repair shops. Bob has unfortunately since passed away, but he was my mentor for quite a number of years. I had a great opportunity to travel with him, and I did have an opportunity to spend approximately the last week of his life, actually. I went down and visited in his home with his wife, Linda, and his two grown children, Robert Jr. and John. And I also had a great opportunity to speak at his funeral. And just so you know, the reason I've chosen March 21st is because that is my 55th birthday. And I went on a very significant trip with Bob to Atlanta, Georgia, quite a few years ago to launch some material, and we were launching a group. And Bob had me go with him, and it was his 55th birthday. He had mentioned that it was his double nickel, so 55 years old, and we went out and celebrated his 55th birthday, and I thought, what a neat way to honor Bob and launch my first online group, March 21st, my 55th birthday. Bob was very good at what he did. He was great at what he did. And one thing he said to me very clearly, because he ran training and management groups, that the best implementation that he'd ever seen from anything was people that were in groups. There's something about being in an online group or a live management group that allows you to be much better at implementing what you've learned in training. It's too easy to go to a training session, learn some great stuff, go back, put your binder on the shelf, and get caught up in the 232 interruptions that you have in a day. And I'm not saying there's not implementation from training. There's been tremendous implementation from training. But when you're in a management group, and you're holding yourself accountable, and you've got other members holding you accountable, and you're working with other members on a weekly, or in this case weekly, the management group, sometimes it's once a month or every 2 months or 3 months, but I like the online concept because we are going to be in communication with you as a member every single week, whether it's as a group or with one of your two coaches. I have been in the industry for 30 years. This is my 30th year as a trainer, and I've gotten to know quite a few amazing shop owners over the years, some that do extremely well. And recently I was in British Columbia, Canada, and I was teaching and training a fellow who had been injured at work, and he was on workers' compensation, and had approached me and asked me if I could teach him, train him to be a manager. He was a technician for quite a number of years. It seems to me it was almost 30 years. And he was injured, and he was no longer able to be a technician and wanted to become a shop manager. And so I trained him one-on-one in a training facility. We did webinars. In fact, as he took all the webinars that I had available at this time, that was about a year ago. And he also came with me to some shops, and we did some on-site training. And the first shop we went to was a shop that had taken one of our classes, a fellow who was working for his dad, and he took one of our 3-day classes. And I was out at a shop, and it was okay. It wasn't great. It was just okay to good. The shop wasn't doing great, but it had gone through a lot of transition. And I thought, this isn't really a good example to train this fellow who had been injured. We spent the better part of a day. We were learning lots of great stuff, of course, but the second day I took him to I think it was 5 different shops, 4 or 5 different shops in that same area, people that I'd known from the early days of the 90s. Some of them were actually in the group that I took over for Bob O'Connor back in the early 90s. And we went to these shops, and it was incredible to see how well they were run, how beautiful they were, how well structured they were. And I showed the fellow that I was teaching, I said, look at the numbers they're doing, because on a whiteboard, and I don't exaggerate, each one of those shops was doing extremely well, and they all had some kind of board, whether it was a whiteboard, actually in this case they were all whiteboards, and it showed on the board what their goal was for the month, how well they were doing towards that goal, and they were looking at productivity, efficiency, and proficiency. And these shops were extraordinary, and I don't mean to exaggerate at all. I don't want to exaggerate, but some of these shops were doing $45,000 to $50,000 plus a month per technician. Those are incredible numbers. And I don't mean their best month was 50,000. I'm talking about shops that are consistently doing 45 to 50. One shop actually did higher than that. I think there might have been some work from the previous month that was billed in that month that brought that up, because I know the numbers really well and know that it wasn't really attainable for him to do what he did, but he did collect it. So yes, he did it, but I do think that there could have been some invoices from the previous month that got paid during that month. But regardless, that shop consistently does approximately $45,000 a month per technician. And as the workers' compensation guy that I was training, when him and I left the shops, I said, isn't that incredible that each one of these shops that we've been at today, these star performers, all were on their numbers. They all were tracking productivity, efficiency, proficiency, and had goals. The other thing that they all had in common was they were all in a management group. And I assure you, some of the best performers that I know, the star performers, the superstars, are ones that I've met in management groups. The shops that I've seen do the best, the most incredible numbers, and not only just good numbers, but time off, less stress, not having to work 12 to 14-hour days anymore. Yeah, once in a while that needs to happen, but some of these shops at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, when they close their door, they're gone, and they don't work weekends. I don't believe any of them work on Saturdays except one, because they do fleets on the weekend. But these are some pretty star performers who do amazing numbers and are impeccable owners, and I've followed their careers and know that they work hard and they also play hard. So what I wanted to do is to launch this online group. I've talked about online groups with shops before. Some of the major part vendors that I worked at, we talked about running online groups, and it never came to fruition. The nice thing about online groups is we can meet more frequently because there's less travel. The groups I ran in Canada were 1 day a month for 10 months of the year. One of the ones I ran in the US was 2 days for 5 months, so we did 2 days 5 times a year. Another group that I ran in the US was 3 days 3 times a year. And it's nice to be able to get away, yes, but it's also very time-consuming and expensive to do all of that traveling. The online group allows us to have members across Canada and or the US. And I would like to say up front that it doesn't matter where your shop is located. When I ran the group in Canada, we had people from Winnipeg, we had people from Calgary, we had people from Vancouver, Vancouver Island, we had some people going to that meeting from Toronto. When I ran the groups in the US, we had people traveling, one guy from Florida, one guy from North Carolina to California for a regular meeting, and then to Denver as well. It doesn't really matter where your shop's located. For the purpose of comparison of our financials, we look at percentages. I have trained all across Canada, every province, most of the territories, and all 50 US states I've been to. And it doesn't matter where I'm at, the percentages are the same, the benchmarks are the same. So yes, your labor rate might be much higher or lower than somebody else's in the group, but they probably are paying a lot more in rent and for their technicians as well. You get into some areas like San Francisco where labor rates are $130+ an hour, but their technicians are being paid $30, maybe $40 an hour. So it's all relative to the area and the rent, etc. But the benchmarks are identical, and it doesn't matter what state, what province you're in, what your labor rate is, how much you pay your technicians, what your rent is. We do expect to see the same benchmarks and the same percentages. So you will notice in groups, we almost always explain things in terms of percentage. When I was running the live groups, which I ran all across Canada, across the US, it was very clear. We spent very little time looking at dollars. Dollars was important to you as a shop owner. That's what you brought to the bank. But from comparison from one shop to another, it was really more about percentages. And one thing I've learned about groups is that everybody is king or queen of something. Everybody is better at something than everybody else. And you might be one person in a group that is better than everybody else in that group at a certain thing, or 2 things, or 5 things. In other words, you might have the highest hours per work order, whereas somebody else has the most pre-booked appointments, somebody else has the highest effective labor rate, somebody else has the most sales per month per technician, somebody else has a better effective labor rate, like I just mentioned, which is actually, I've mentioned it twice because it is my favorite calculation. Some people have the highest labor mix, some people have so many ratios that are better than everybody else's. So I could go on and on. I won't. Bottom line is everybody's king or queen of something. And so in a group, you're going to feel great when you're talking about your hours per work order and why it's the highest, and then listen attentively as somebody is talking about their labor to parts ratio or labor mix or effective labor rate, as I just mentioned. So the online group launches March 21st, 2017, and I'll talk about that a little later on, the time for that and what is included in that meeting. The membership benefits, and I've put together what I believe is the most comprehensive program that I can put together for a group. And there are benefits we can provide to you in this group that we've not been able to provide in live groups in the past. Number one is biweekly owners manager online meetings. They're all recorded, and there's a calendar online that you will have access to, so you will always know when the meetings are coming up. Number two, and I will be going through each of these in more detail in this PowerPoint presentation. There are two coaches that are involved. There's myself, Kelly the coach, and a fellow that I've been working with for a couple of years now. His name is Kevin King. Kevin King sells awesome shop management software for repair shops. He has an extensive background in the parts industry, has worked with thousands of shop owners across Canada and the United States, predominantly the US. Just to let you know, Kevin is an American. He lives in Vermont. I've worked with Kevin on phone. I've worked with him doing live webinars. He's been with me in some of the webinars if you've been watching or listening along. He's been traveling with me in some of these sessions that I've done recently in Ontario, Canada, and Kevin is well versed, and he brings experience and expertise to this industry that I'm not able to. So you're going to see a great combination with Kelly and Kevin. Some people call this the special case. Anyway, the monthly one-on-one coaching with both of your coaches. Once a month you will be dealing with myself, and once a month with Kevin. They are all online meetings. There are times where you will be dealing with Kevin and myself collectively. In fact, as your initial meeting with us will be with both of us on a call, web-based call. Number three is you're going to have access to Kelly the Coach current and future online sessions. It says there's currently 12 recorded. There's actually 17. And all new webinars that are recorded you all have access to, and we also show you how to download them on your own hard drive. And just so you know, all of the meetings that we have online are recorded as well. Number four is a comprehensive financial analysis tool, which is without a doubt the most extensive, the most comprehensive, I think the absolute best, well, I know it's the absolute best financial analysis tool of any group that I've been in. We used some in the past that were pretty good, not great. Back in the day, Bob O'Connor's was phenomenal. One of the challenges is, though, that you sent your data in and then you would get the composite back, and you didn't have your own composite per se, and you would see the group composite when it actually came out on a PDF. And if you'd made a mistake and it was wrong, and now the group's looking at it and you think, oh, how come that was there? Well, it was the way it was submitted. Your composite you do on your own and submit it to us once a month. So you'll see any errors, if you make any, as you go through it, and a chance to correct them before anybody else sees them, your coach or the group collectively. Number five is a full group composite. You're going to see your numbers, how they compare to everybody else in the same group. Number six is you're going to receive tools, spreadsheets, forms, and there's a comma there because it goes on and on and on. I have dozens and dozens of forms and questionnaires and surveys and marketing information, spreadsheets for many different things. I'm going to show you some samples of those today. Number seven is what we did with one of the groups that I ran in the US. We had a couple of groups in California, one in Denver, one in Seattle. And once a year we got together for what we called the summit. And that was the groups from all across the U.S. who gathered together at the headquarters in San Francisco, and we met as a larger group. And it was a great opportunity for you to meet not only with members of your own group, but members of other groups as well. And as we bring more and more groups on, we will be doing the exact same thing. So we're going to have a live summit approximately 1 year from now in March of 2018, and that's included. It's a 2-day meeting. Number 8 is an online manager group for sharing files and information. You are going to have access to a password protected group online where we'll be sharing financial data. That's where you'll see the agendas for the upcoming meetings. That's where you'll receive your monthly composite for all of the group members. And anytime in a group we're talking about a new form, a new spreadsheet, a new document that you're using, a new inspection form that you just love, what we ask you to do is to go and upload that to the group. Everybody gets an email saying there's something new, and you can go online and gather that. So what we want to be able to do is share files and information with all owners. And just so you know, once there's more than one group, and that's the way I did it in the US as well, when there was more than one group, I had a collective group that we had access to, and we would share information between group members. So we would have groups from across the US, as I mentioned, and they would upload files and they would be shared with everybody in all of the groups across the US. Great opportunity to work together. And lastly, we do the same thing with service advisors. One of the things that has not happened very much, a little bit, with the groups in Canada, but is involving the service advisor in the group, and I'm going to get into detail on all of these things. So those are the 9 major benefits for you as a member. The group member benefits continued. Number 1, I said, is the owner-manager online group meetings. There's 2 group meetings per month, and when I say group, I mean all of us collectively. Number 1, once a month, we're going to do a web-based meeting, which is for the purpose of reviewing the group composite with all of the members in your group. So you're going to do your own composite, and you'll have your own analysis, and you can do the one-on-one coaching with Kevin and myself based on that, or any other topic you want. I'll talk about that shortly. But this is an opportunity for you to see the numbers for everybody else in your group, and we will be able to share information one with another. And again, as I mentioned, everybody's king or queen of something, and we go through that, and you may have the highest hours per work order and indicate to us how you do that. Somebody else will have, again, the highest effective labor rate. We explain they'll explain how they do that. So you'll have opportunity in each meeting to listen to what other people are doing, sometimes what they're doing better than you and vice versa, and an opportunity for us to all work together. Number 2 is a web-based meeting also held on a monthly basis for training, and those can be determined by current needs that we have as a group. When I'm reviewing the composite, when Kevin is reviewing the composite, we might see that our particular group that we're talking here, the first launch, maybe we have a problem with making every car count, and so we just don't have a car count issue, and we'd like to see more cars, so the training could be based on that. Of course, you can see some of that training in the webinars as well. Maybe the effective labor rate is too low, which again is my absolute favorite calculation of all of them, and we'll do some training based on that. Or there's current needs that the group has. Maybe we're having issues with hiring or getting rid of employees, or they might be employee related. We'll do some training based on employee relations, etc. We do some training based on leadership, which is hard to come by, it seems, on leadership for our industry. There's training needs that happen all the time, and of course I can create webinars based on those, but we'll also lend some of our time with our group on our meetings once a month with the group to do some training. These meetings are all recorded, and you can watch them online. If for any reason you are not able to make a meeting, it doesn't really matter. I mean, it would be great to have you there, but it's an opportunity for you to go back and listen to that meeting again, share that meeting with somebody else. You could show parts of that to your staff in a staff meeting, whatever purpose you want to. So just to let you know, those are 2 meetings a month with the entire group. One is for the composite, and the other is for training. The second part of that is there's 2 monthly one-on-one coaching meetings with Kelly and or Kevin. Each month you're going to be involved in a 90-minute web-based one-on-one meeting with myself, and one with Kevin, and possibly it could be Kevin or myself. But twice a month you are going to be having one-on-one coaching. You will choose the best day of the week and time for that meeting. With the group meetings, of course, we all have to be on the same day, same time, the purpose of a group, right? But for your one-on-one coaching, you can choose whichever day of the week is best for you. We'll work together with Kevin and myself, or you individually, The topics are of your choice, what you want to do in that one-on-one. It could be helping you with composite analysis. It could be training on subjects that you want to talk to about us one-to-one, one-on-one, I should say, that you don't want to talk about with the group. It could be coaching. It could be any combination of those. So to be clear, there are 2 meetings a month that are group-based with everybody from the group on there, and once a month with myself, once a month with Kevin. They're 90 minutes apiece. Sometimes they go a little bit longer than that, but you're going to be communicating with Kevin, myself, or your group 4 weeks out of the month. The next is you are going to have access to all of the Kelly the Coach current and future online sessions. Currently there are 17. Now one is a shorter one on how to download webinars to your computer, but there are 16 full 90-minute to 2-hour online recorded sessions. You receive the links for those. That's all on the group that I mentioned, that you have access to the group. All the links are there, all the material is there, and it's really nice to be able to watch those with your staff. Portions of them may be in a staff meeting. You can, as I mentioned, download them to your computer. Nice thing about that is you have an employee and they go off to training or they learn some of this stuff, and then next thing you know they move or they quit or something happens and you hire somebody else and you think, oh, when will I be able to train that person again? Well, you can have them watch the online training sessions. So basically you invest once and you can benefit forever. You can revisit these. You can watch them as many times as you want, as often as you want, whenever you want, I should say. Some of the topics that are already done, and of course many topics coming up on leadership and team building, etc. Number one, again, all these are 90-minute to 2-hour sessions. One called Manage Better 2017, which is more management related. Another one, Improved Operations for Improved Profits. That's really an owner-manager related subject. Improved communications between the customer, the advisor, and the technicians. I guess the question is here is how many problems are caused between the customers, advisors, and technicians' communication. How many problems are caused because of a lack of communication between the customers, the advisors, the technicians, and then back from the technicians, the advisors, to the customers. I've had people say all of them. I wouldn't say it's all of them, but quite a few. And so I put together a webinar on how to improve communications. Now, number 4, drastically increase your diagnostic labor sales. I love that subject. It's one of my absolute favorites. A great session called 65 Ways to Increase Car Count, which is almost like a Hollywood-style production. 65 independent ways that you can watch in any order that you want independently, and you can share again those with your staff. That's the only one, by the way, that doesn't download to your hard drive, but you can watch it online. 6 is Mastering Scheduling. 7, Tune Up Your Profits. 8, Service Advisor Skills. 9, Service Advisor Essentials, which is different than Service Advisor Skills. That's really an introduction to key performance indicators for advisors, and a lot more information there as well. 10 through 15 is the 5-part series that I've just done this week called GPS Financial Management. A GPS tells you 3 things: where you're at, you tell it where you want to be, and it shows you how to get there, and that's what this 5-part series does. There's one that I put together, which is a GemCart demo, which is the software that Kevin works with. Some people wanted to know what the software does and how it relates to things like pre-booking appointments and tracking productivity, efficiency, and proficiency. And so we put together that demo. It's actually over 2 hours long. It has some management training that goes along with that. And in that, I interview Mike Kelly and Kevin King. Great opportunity to learn about that software if that's of interest to you. And number 17 is a short little session on how to download webinars to your computer. Those last 2, there's no charge for those, but to give you an idea, the other ones combined have a value of over $1,400 if you were to buy all of those individually. Again, you have access to those. Download most of them except one on your hard drive, and you can watch them as often as you want. And you will also be receiving information on when live webinars are coming up. You are able to attend all of the live webinars, which are also recorded, so even if you can't go to it live, you can always watch the recording online as well. Number 4 is the Comprehensive Financial Analysis Tool. And I know that sounds a bit long, and it is, but I want to show you what that tool is about. And it's a great opportunity to be able to see exactly how your shop is doing. And I've put together a webinar, which is number 5 in the GPS, I should say, financial management training. And I just want to show you, and I'm working with 2 monitors here, so it's a little quirky, which one is actually showing to you on this webinar. But I'm not going to go through this in detail. There is the webinar that, by the way, there are 5 sessions that you must watch in advance of joining the group before the first actual meeting. And that's after March 21st, by the way. You've got until the next meeting to go through all 5, where I go through and explain how this is filled in. But the neat thing about this particular composite is this becomes yours, and as you enter your data, you see the results instantly. You don't have to do it all at once. You can add some data, pause it, basically save it, come back to it, add more data later on. It may seem overwhelming to you, but I can assure you that in a short period of time, you will become well versed in this. I did use this with the groups that I mentioned in Denver and Seattle, and well, we had Nevada, which was California and Nevada combined, and I assure you that we had 100% reporting eventually from all of our groups. So this is basically what the composite looks like. The nice thing about this is a real shop, by the way, and we can see the trending from month to month. So you can see with all of these 172 lines of financial data exactly where you're at month after month after month. And this is the first composite I've ever seen that actually allows you to trend your own shop in all of these lines. So you can see if you're doing better, if it's something going up, something's going down, and you're able to be on your game. And this is data that you absolutely want to see on a monthly basis. Some shops, what they'll do is they'll learn how to do this and go back and take their data from the full year prior and enter that data so they could see the trending on that. So that is your own personal composite, and you see that every single month. As soon as you type in the numbers, it starts to do the calculations for you. The next part of this is the group composite, and that's how do you compare with the other shops in the group. And to make it clear, we do have you put your name on there. It's just your first name. We don't have to have the name of the shop. I mean, it's highly unlikely somebody else would ever see what this is, nor would they probably understand it. But these are real shops that were in our Calvada group, and you can see how each shop compares. So we see all of the same lines from your composite, and now we can see how Doug's doing, John, Charlie, Bill, Deacon, Becky, and Shari. And these are numbers that we compare on a regular basis, monthly basis when we have that meeting, so we can see, oh, you're really high here, somebody else is really high there, and that's where I mentioned everybody is king or queen of something. It's one thing to see your own financial data. It's great to be able to see that, but it's also fantastic to be able to see the financial data for your shop as it compares to other shops. You might think you're doing really well in one particular area, and then you see somebody else that's doing better, and you think, how do you do that? Well, then, of course, part of their meeting is for them to explain to you and for you to explain to them how you do so well in that particular area. And again, it's working together as a team. That's why I use this graphic. The team is just being built, so that's why we still have the construction equipment there. What we're looking at here is building a team of like-minded shop owners who just want to get better and better and better. So point number 5 is the comprehensive financial analysis tool, which you have for your own shop that you complete monthly. And then there's also the one that is the one for the group that I just talked about. The 6th part of the benefits is financial management tools, and I assure you I have many, many, many tools. In fact, sometimes I'm going through my hard drive and find some things that I kind of almost forgot that I put together. We do have these. I'm not going to go through each one of these, but in the 5-part GPS series, we do cover all of those except one, which I'm going to quickly show you in this webinar. There's the income statement analysis tool, the power of team, which basically shows you how you can calculate what your potential is based on productivity and efficiency. Most of you are very familiar with that. It's my favorite spreadsheet. Profit Builder software, which again is part of the 5-part series on financial management. We have 2 part matrices, the regular parts matrix and the algorithmic matrix, and there's reasons why we have both. Some you can use with your shop management system. Some shop management systems won't permit you to do that, so you can use this one independently. Another tool that most people have not seen, but you're going to be provided with that, is the Management and Profit Planner software. It's a phenomenal tool that allows you to do what-if scenarios. What if I hired another technician? What if I moved and had to pay more rent? What if I bought my own facility? What if I bought the new piece of equipment? Am I going to be able to make more money? Hopefully I'm not going to make less because I bought some equipment or whatever. There's 3 different scenarios that you could do in each of those files. So we spend time training on that. In fact, as I am going to create a webinar just on that product service, I should say, planner alone. 7, detailed monthly financial management trending software forecasting. I just showed that to you. You received that. I have a great little form called 1 extra sold hour per technician per day, and to see what the benefit is of that is. And in some cases, that's an additional 100% gross profit. I have another great tool that I just released called Sales Gross and Net Profit per Technician. It's a calculator and additional spreadsheets. There's tools, there's forms, and there's so much more. And to make it clear, number 11 is there's exclusive materials that I developed that are not available for anybody outside the group. If specifically materials that you would only see involved in a group, it's not something that you would see in a training session. And I want to show you just one of those tools that I'm talking about. And one day I was sitting in my home and I was thinking about sales per month per technician, and the Power of Team software does that. Most of you have seen that, where I compare average, above average, and awesome shops and how your sales can double. But I wanted to take it further. I thought, what should the gross profit be per technician? What should the sales be in parts per technician? What should the cost of sales be? And then I wanted to bring it down to what would the net profit be for each technician. In other words, you can analyze with the existing technicians that you have, and that's the purpose of this D column with number 3 technicians, because a lot of shops have 3. But I also wanted to make it so that you could calculate, if you added a new technician, what should the dollar differences be? And you want to be able to see what you can do if you did hire another person. As I scroll down, you're going to notice that I stopped talking during that, because with the bandwidth it will cut out, and I want to make sure you get a chance to hear what I say. So with one technician, a technician, if you're hiring another technician, or if you had 3 technicians on the right-hand side, they're there approximately 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year, little time off for vacations and holidays, overtime. You're going to get this tool. When you sign up, you get this tool right away, and you can put in the number of hours that you feel your technicians work. Maybe, in Canada, we have not just 2 weeks paid vacation in a year, but we have a number of statutory holidays as well, and so you may want to factor in. We want it to be as accurate for your shop as possible. The labor rate, for just illustration purposes, I put it $112 an hour. So that would mean that the sales for that shop should be $224,000, or could be $224,000 per tech per shop in a year. The part sales to go along with that should be approximately $165,760. In addition to that, I wanted to separate out all the other things that you would sell: the sublet, the tires, the towing, the shop supplies, the environmental fees. So the total sales per year per technician could be $428,736. So let's say you've got 3 technicians at your shop. That becomes 6,000 hours. Of course, the labor rate, same labor rate, 112. Your labor sales in a year with 3 technicians should be 672,000. Your part sales to go along with that should be just under 500,000. The sublet, tires, towing, shop supplies, environmental fees to go along with that, 116,000, almost 117,000. So you should be able to do about 1.2 million with 3 technicians, a little over, well, 1.3 million almost in sales. What happens if you added another technician? Well, you'd want to see how much additional sales you could have with that extra tech. So again, you could use the spreadsheet to calculate the potential with what you have, but also use it to, what if I hired another technician? What if I hired another 2 technicians? And you simply put the number of hours in there. What I wanted to see, and I'm just going to pull this down a little bit so we can see it all in one without having to scroll very much. I wanted to see the cost of goods sold that go along with that. So if you've got one technician, your cost of labor that would be available would be $61,600. I think we can all agree in most cases we can get a decent technician for that. Some areas it wouldn't be easy, depending on where you're located. With 3 technicians, you would have $184,800 available. Just to be clear here, that is unloaded, which means that would be $61,600 in direct wages, whether that's hourly or salary or flat rate, whatever, $61,000. That does not include any of the payroll benefits or burdens. The labor gross profit, when you collect the labor from that technician, you're going to have to pay the technician. Maybe it's not going to be fully $61,000, but you can put in whatever your number would be. Labor gross profit would be $162,400. With 3 technicians, with 3 techs, you should be able to do about $487,200. I wanted to see what the parts gross profit would be, and just to be clear here, that's based on a 50% of the funds going to parts, so 50% gross profit. The parts gross profit per technician should be about $82,880. With 3 technicians, your parts gross profit should be about $248,000. And then the overall gross profit, which includes the sublet and tires and towing and shop supplies and environmental fees. So the gross profit per technician in a year should be about $245,000, with 3 technicians about $735,000. But I also wanted to look at the expenses, and really especially because when you hire another advisor, you want to be able to pay your manager better, yourself better, or your service advisor better, or maybe hire a manager when you don't have one yet, or you have an advisor, or you want to hire another advisor or something like that. So I wanted to show that with one technician, there would be about $42,873 available for management salary. You could certainly get a really good manager in probably everywhere for $128,000 a year. Not that you'd pay that, but what we're saying is that if you run the business properly and the labor gross profit's there, the parts gross profit is there, you're charging the shop supplies, environmental fees, and all those other things, selling the sublet, selling the tires along with that, and you are able to sell the work and get the productivity there and the efficiency and all of those factors, you could be paying a manager as high as $128,620. Now, if the productivity is lower, the efficiency is lower, that number will come down, but I want to show you that the true potential could be that. For a service advisor, the reason this was important is because if you hire another technician, you may be stressing out your current advisor. You may need to hire another advisor. We like to see one advisor with 2 technicians, one advisor with a maximum of 3 technicians. So if you've got 3 techs and you're going to hire a 4th one, you're definitely going to need to hire another advisor. So what I wanted to show is that $34,298 additional would be available for that advisor. Now that's not a full advisor. Maybe it's going to be a hybrid where you have somebody in the morning helping out on the counter for the first couple of hours as an advisor, and then they spend maybe the rest of the day doing parts, etc., and then they're available to do other things during the day, and then back on the counter for the last couple hours of the day. So it would be a hybrid. But if it was 2 technicians, then you'd have $68,000. Again, what's really important is if you hire another technician, it's not good enough just to look at the sales and cost of goods sold of that tech. You need to consider, do I need to hire another advisor? Do I need a hybrid advisor? Do I need to hire a manager? Right now I only have an advisor, or whatever it might be. Some people, by the way, will hire a service advisor's assistant, which maybe you could get that for that in your area, $35,000 a year as an assistant. Of course, if you're in an area that the labor rate's higher, then there's going to be more available to you there as well. I wanted to show the rent because if you hire another technician, maybe you're going to expand your facility. You could use this. Let's say you're going to go from a facility that has 4 bays to one that has 6, and you're going to hire 2 technicians. Then you can fill this in for 2 techs and see how much more money would be available in rent. Our rent benchmark is 5% of sales. And so you can see how much more money would be available in the revenue from hiring another technician, or one or two or three or whatever it is that's available for additional rent. Marketing and advertising, when you hire more people, you probably want to do more advertising and marketing. Now, you probably won't spend $25,000, but the point is that you could. With the numbers that we're looking at, backing up the numbers and looking at the data, there's more money available for marketing. The total expenses for technicians, of course, some of those expenses are going to go up. So you'd have $171,000 in total expenses, which, by the way, includes the management salary, the service advisor, all of these things here, and all of the other additional expenses that go along with that. And so you could see that the total profit that you could make from hiring a new advisor with all of that money being there could be $85,000 net profit dollars from hiring one more technician. Now, you may not spend more on a manager, you may not spend more on an advisor, you may not spend more on marketing and advertising, which of course will go right to your bottom line. But looking at this with a 3 technician shop, maybe you already have 3, you could pay your service advisor and your manager that much money, which is absolutely huge. Now, of course, if your labor rate's higher, it's going to be higher. If your labor rate's lower, it's going to be lower. It's all relative. You have some significant money available in the year for rent or mortgage for yourself. How much is available for marketing and advertising? So I just wanted to show you some of the tools that I'm working on pretty much on an ongoing basis. Always, Kevin would be laughing if he heard me right now, because I'll say, look at this, and I'm working on this, and sometimes I think his head's spinning when he sees all the new things that I'm working on. He came to a class with me just the other day, and I was making changes to the workbook the night before, because I thought I want to add this and I want to add this, and if you see me train before and you see me train now, I add and I add and I add, because I want to continually add new material. And as a group member, you're going to get access to that new material before anybody else, and sometimes other people in training will never see that material unless they're in a group. Number 7, I already mentioned this, there's going to be an annual 2-day live summit meeting for all the members. Your cost of your membership is included in that. Now, you'd be paying for travel, of course, depending on where it's going to be. It will be based on where most of our shops are. So we'll determine where the best location would be, and you'll know about it approximately 9 months to a year, possibly in advance. Well, probably closer to 9 months. I like to be accurate with things. So I'll give you lots of opportunity for travel. And by the way, what a great opportunity to get away from your shop, to go to these meetings, to work with other like-minded people that you've seen the numbers for a year or whatever, and you've talked to them on the phone, they've been in meetings, you've seen pictures of the shops, and you've talked to their advisors and all of this, and you get a chance to meet together. And I know some people think, well, I have to travel, and I can tell you that one of the best things is traveling, to get away from your shop. If the meeting's in your hometown, it's a live meeting, you finish the meeting and you head off to the shop to get stuff done, put out fires or whatever. But when you're out of town, you don't do that. You hang out with the other shop members, or you go back to your hotel and you're thinking about what you learned, and you're driving back or you're flying back. Most people were flying to the meetings, and they use that flying time to process and be on their laptops and adding the spreadsheets and doing the calculations. In other words, the further that you are from the shop, sometimes the better the implementation can be. If you live within 2 minutes of your shop, not a lot of time to unwind. But if you have to drive an hour or so, or commute longer than that, then there's an opportunity. And I tell you, one of my favorite things when I traveled a ton was being on airplanes, just to have that time to implement, to think, to work on things. There's no way I could have written over 80 different articles over the years if I didn't have that time alone on airplanes. That was not talking to other people. I become fairly antisocial on planes, because it becomes my time to get my stuff done. And just to let you know, that 2-day meeting would include an on-site, or on-sites plural, depending on how many shops are in that particular area. So we'd have a chance to get out to see at least one shop, maybe 2. And we'd also do some training on that 2 days. We do some networking. We do some more. We have lunches together, and your meals are included in that. The only thing that you pay additional is your travel costs. Another one benefit is the online group that I mentioned briefly, and it's simply a group that you will have access to, and you will upload files. Your group composite will be there, like I mentioned. The agenda will be there, and an opportunity to share information with people from across the country. So you say, I just have this brand new inspection form that I'm using for comprehensive vehicle inspections, and so you upload it and everybody gets a chance to see that right away. So it's wonderful to see shop owners working together, sharing information, helping each other out. And that's why I like the whole thing with team. You know, the acronym, at least to get started here, is together everyone accomplishes more. And that's so true. And just so you know, team will not always stand for that. We have other acronyms that we're going to introduce you to over the course of our group. But right now it's construction, we're building the team, and together everyone accomplishes more. And for service advisors, we do the exact same thing. And just to let you know, we do have a composite specifically for service advisors, and I just want to briefly just take a look at that. Just so you know, the advisor will not receive the exact same composite as you. They are only going to receive up until line 65, I believe it is. Line 65. So I think it's beneficial for the service advisors that are in your group, in our group, in your shop, that because they contribute a lot to the composite. And so once a month, the advisors are going to be on the meetings. And I don't think I mentioned that earlier. I apologize. One meeting a month is specifically going to be with your service advisor. You could be on it if you so like. But your advisor is going to receive a service advisor composite once a month. Their names will be on the top of this, and they will be able to compare from one shop to another. And it's great for the ego because your advisor has the highest hours per work order that month and the highest effective labor rate, whereas somebody else has the highest labor to parts ratio and somebody else has the highest labor gross profit. And so the advisors are part of this as well, and they receive a composite. It does not show expenses and your salary and the salaries of your staff. All it brings into, I shouldn't say all, but is the sales, the cost of goods sold, and all of the KPIs that I believe a service advisor should see on a monthly basis. So your advisor once a month will be on a 90-minute to a 2-hour meeting with all the other advisors from the group. It's up to you if you'd like to be on that call or not, but we're going to be sharing the information with your advisors and doing some training that relates to the composite at the same time. And point number 9 in the PowerPoint that we're looking at here is your service advisors will also have access to an online group where they will share information. The group composite for the advisor will be on there. Again, they only see service advisor related KPIs. It's different from the composite that you receive. There's a 65 lines. The shop owner manager is 172 lines. But they get a chance to share information as well. So an advisor has a new tool that's helping them with whatever, they can share that, and everybody that's in that group that's a service advisor gets an email from that group and says so-and-so in whatever city just posted, and you can go on there and see what they posted. Plus, they have an opportunity to share information amongst each other. So if a service advisor has a particular problem with a customer or you or whatever it is, they can go online. And by the way, the service advisor group is restricted just to the advisors. You can be on the calls, that's fine, but the advisor group is specifically for the advisors to be able to share information. And I think it's a safe place for them to be to ask questions, because sometimes we need to learn how to better deal with the owner of that shop or the manager of that shop or whatever. And so they can ask questions to each other, and they can think, I don't know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask my group, and they can go post the group. And it's a great opportunity for advisors to work together. So I wanted to share that with you as well. And so there's a service advisor composite. I apologize, I did mention earlier on in this presentation. A little bit of information here, and then we are done. March 21st, 2017, we are going to start the group at 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And the reason I chose that is because we don't want anybody on a call after 3 o'clock in the afternoon, getting ready for that 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock rush, whatever time your rush happens. And they are on Eastern Time, so that means that even somebody that is on a different in a different time zone, if they're in British Columbia, it's still going to be during a non-rush time. So we want to avoid that 9 to 10 o'clock in the morning for everybody, regardless of what time zone you're on, and that afternoon rush 4 to 5 o'clock. So as far as your coaching goes, again, you will have a choice to have that, but all meetings will be held 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern. We believe that works out to be the best for everybody. And again, if for any reason you can't make it because you're on vacation, etc., then you can go back and listen to the recording, watch the recording. That meeting, we're going to do an introduction of the founding members. So each person that signs into the group, a maximum of 8 people we're taking into our first launch. And you will need to be prepared to introduce yourself and your shop. We will be asking you for photos of your shop in the interim as well, and we'll be covering those in that meeting as well. So we'll see a picture of you and we'll see a picture of your shop, and you'll have about 10 minutes in that, and we'll give you a list of what we'd like you to cover, the information about your shop, when you started your shop, how many technicians, etc. Secondly, we're going to talk about the best days of the week and times for all future meetings. They will be consistent. 1 to 3 is, I believe, going to be the best times. If we decide that that might change, then we can discuss that. But we will talk about what are the best days of the week for those training sessions and meetings online. There's only 1 a week, so we can always make it a Tuesday, Wednesday, or a Thursday, avoiding Mondays and Fridays. And they'll always be the same day of the week, the same time, so you never have to wonder what day is it. Every week there's going to be a meeting with you as the shop owner or manager, or your coaching session, or your service advisor. So once a week there's going to be a meeting of some kind, so lots of touch points with you. You're going to have access to all of the online training as soon as you sign up for the group. And again, you're going to have access to all of Kelly the Coach materials. You're going to be receiving it during that meeting or prior to, as soon as you register for the group. You're going to have access to the online management group. We're going to provide that information that day, which will show you where you will go to access the management group for yourself. And of course, they will be password protected, so nobody except you will have access to that. The advisors will not have access to the owner-manager group, and owner-managers will not have access to the service advisor group. And from my 30 years experience doing this, I assure you that works better. During that meeting on March 21st, we will also set the meeting dates for all of 2017, so we'll know exactly when they're going to be. We'll also go through and explain what your expectations of us would be. We're going to get your input there as the 2 facilitators or coaches, Kevin King and myself, and what the member expectations are. And we will also be setting up the times for the initial one-on-one coaching. So when you come on board, we're going to spend extra time coaching you. Kevin and I both will have a meeting with you collectively, and we'll bring you up to speed. So when we look at the very first composite in the month of April, hopefully you will be right there and able to provide your information right at the same time. And we're also going to have a question and answer period at the end of that. The membership, as I mentioned, it's a maximum of 8 shops per group. And prior to that first initial meeting, not in March 21st, but our first initial meeting in April, you must go through, if you haven't already gone through, the 5-part financial management online series. And we're going to ask you to complete a 21-question test with one of your coaches online. It will be a verbal test. This is essential because in the group process, one of the things that I learned that works against the process is when we have people that have been in the group for a year or several months or 2 years or sometimes 5 years, somebody new comes along and the meetings are geared to the new person. Now, once in a while it's okay to repeat something. Once in a while it's okay to stop and help somebody who's new. But for a meeting to cater only to the new people, and you as an existing member are hearing things that you have heard again and again and again, we want to avoid that. So we want to make sure that everybody that joins the group understands the income statement analysis tool, all of the spreadsheets that we've talked about. We provide coaching on that. We provide the online training on that. So when you join the group, you are familiar with the composite. You know the lines of the composite. You won't understand every line of the composite. Nobody understands every single line of it. That's not what this is about. But we learn and we learn and we learn. But it's essential that we're all at least on the same level playing field when it comes to things like productivity, efficiency, proficiency. As a group member, you are going to have access as soon as you sign up to all of the webinars that I mentioned, and I would highly encourage you to watch all of those webinars prior to our first real meeting in April when we review our first composite. We ask you to commit within a month of being a member to providing your monthly composite numbers by the 15th of the month. So by the 15th of the month is when we want to have all the numbers in. After that 15th will be the session where we will be talking about that composite. So making sure that you're ready to be at full membership capability, we'll call it. And again, I assure you, in all the groups that I ran, at least in the United States, some not so much in Canada, personally I think it was a lack of accountability that the facilitators held the people to. I'll just say it that way to be polite. But I think it makes perfect sense that within 3 months you should be able to provide your composite with all the data and information. When you need to be brought up to speed, that's what the coaching is for. That's what you can do, is so you can go back and watch the financial part 5, which is the composite and how to fill in the data. You can talk to your coach. You can send us information. You can send us emails. I think 3 months is a long shot. I think most people should be ready within the first 2 months, but we are asking you to commit to being able to provide your full financial composite by your 3rd month of being a member. And again, all composite numbers need to be in by the 15th of the month. And again, you're getting training and coaching provided on that. So we're not putting pressure on you saying you have to do it without providing you with the information. When you initially sign up, your initial fee is $730. I made it $30 because it's my 30th year training and launching this online group in my 30th year, so I thought I'd end it with a 30. That's $730, but I want to make it clear that it includes your membership fee, all of the tools, all of the spreadsheets, your composite you get right away, all of the online training, 2 hours of coaching with Kevin and or Kelly. The first couple are going to be with both of us. And then the monthly fee is $330, which I assure you is one of the best price groups out there, especially considering you have access to all of the online training and all the future online training. Every single time we record a new webinar, you get a link to that webinar, you get the materials to go along with that webinar, and all we ask for is a simple 60-day cancellation. So with that, I hope that explains to you with enough information for you on what the group is about. Normally we would explain this in a flyer. I think it's too complex to make it all in one flyer. So with that, I'd like to thank you for your time. It's just been almost 1 hour. And if you've got any questions, you can please feel free to email me, kelly@kellythecoach.com, kelly@kellythecoach.com. And Kevin King is K King, and he is a king, I assure you, kking@v2v.ca. That's Victor, number 2, Victor. So V2V. So K King at v2v.ca. And again, he's going to be part of the coaching with this group. Provides a huge amount of information. I'm so happy to have him on board. He would have been on this recording today, but he's suffering a cold, and we certainly don't need somebody coughing into the microphone when we're recording a composite. So Kevin will definitely be with us on our initial launch on March the 21st. In the interim, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. And by the way, as group members, you also receive both of our cell numbers. So if you're going through some kind of crisis, then you have access to the cell phone numbers for Kevin and myself. With that, thank you. The link to be able to sign up for the group is in the initial email that I sent you. If perchance you don't have it, you can simply contact me, and I can send you the link to register with PayPal online. With that, thank you very much, and have a great day.